Previously on Zio Agito.
Why are you doing this? Answer me! You know why. It's geeks. It never gets good again.
What brings you to my neck of the woods? You know, Grandfather once told me to never trust the color blue, especially if it's on a waffle. So, in this instance, let me reacquaint you with someone. How'd you like the last 2 years of impersonating me? Ha! Phantom Ryuga! Yes, it is I, John Toei. And what's the honor in having a little family reunion right now? Huh, Morphin Black? Or rather, as you would prefer, younger brother. Look, I know it's been a while, John, but I heard you got some good stuff. Got some really, really good stuff. I see word of my new product has spread around already. That's right, I got the new white stuff. Ah, yes, let's go.
Who are you?
Not relevant. But as of late, more relevant than you. So it's time you made a comeback.
But I didn't miss much.
But you did. I was even in the Toku Award. That was one hell of an experience. Who thought I had it in me to fund, write, produce, and get distribution rights to my own film and air it in only one movie theater in Croatia? Truly life-changing. But if you didn't see it, too bad. I'm just gonna act like you did and hope you can follow along. Speaking of following along, y'all see that Gotchard film? No? Well, fuck you! The show's gonna act like you did because who cares that your peasant Westerner ass just couldn't access their content by conventional means in a timely manner? This show isn't meant for you, but still wants you to keep buying their shit. Ain't that right, Dan Bandai? That's right, so we've now reached the epilogue to what Gotchard calls Part 1, and the start of Part 2. Check out this new poster! I mean, look at this guy! He looks super relevant here. I'm sure he's gonna stick around for a long, long time. They even brought in Legend! I guess he's gonna be a big part of the main cast really, really, really soon, right? Hotaro and the gang have captured so many Kemis! So many Kemis! But there's still some left, and some of these entries are just wacky. The Cumpire. Kemi like a vampire. Vampire. Really? Ninetail. Kemi looks like a nine-tailed fox. No shit. But it is winter break, and Hotaro needs help at Mom's place, and Rine's just a person to help. But first, Gideon makes his move, and as it turns out, he
Love gold!
and gets all up in on Lactus. Hey yo, hold up, for real? All this happening, and you haven't been covering this show weekly, why? This is maximum Space Vice energy. Majin Da Hano! Confused? Should've watched that film. Because this episode is just gonna keep making callbacks to it. See, Rine's got a whole new Kemi partner, and she also seems like all the weight's been lifted off her shoulders. And why is that? Oh, the daddy issues plot that was introduced in the show got resolved in the film. And she's currently out of alchemy powers and needs time to recharge after the events of the film too? Well, enough about that. We get introduced to Kyoka, who is Spanner's support from the inside and the one responsible for all of his gear. And she's working on a whole new Gotcha driver just for him. See, remember how special the Gotcha driver was? Also remember how it was the key to opening the door of darkness? I'm just like, y'all are just handing out these. Okay, alright, whatever. We now return to our usual Kajiki unknowingly finding a Kemi. In this case, a giant sock puppet coming from the sky and turning everyone into PNGs. You can even tell when they failed to adjust the perspective in this shot. Even Spanner returns to the train just to get railed and handed his weekly L and get saved by a real rider. To throw some more salt on that wound, now hold on there, big guy, because Hotaru can't even match this guy. So, the following L is brought to you by True Hero, as both Spanner and Rine, along with others, get PNGified. But seemingly, from out of nowhere, a new challenger approaches, making quick work of the Kemi, but not trying to be a glory hog, letting Hotaru in on some of the action, freeing everyone and getting home in time for Christmas. But we now do have a proper introduction to Gideon. This episode, along with the next set of episodes, will have a pending rating due to how they monumentally relied on the winter film just to prepare whatever narrative they had going for themselves and ending it to the point of feeling like we need to call this section Part 2. Though there are a lot of setups here now that feel like an attempt at course correction based off of the show reception, this show just upsets me with how much they tease what happened in the movie to the point that it feels like it calls you out for just not watching it. For that, this episode is getting a Dap Hand D with an asterisk. Episode 17 has Gideon demonstrating that he's built like an old school villain. He even has a collection of dolls that predate the sisters, in which his amalgams are made of gold. Hotaru's thinking about Orange Guy, Spanner's mentor is exhausted, and Minato is about to betray everyone because he has some sort of history with Gideon. Now it's Monster of the Week time, with Hotaru already failing so hard that New Guy has to show him how it's done. So now, they build up the mystery of Gachar Daybreak, while also starting to expand on what the following events will end up being. Now, back with Kyoka and Spanel, as we get more info on just what transpired 10 years before, or rather, teases of it, just to give Spanel some more motivation before Kyoka beats his ass at chess. His reward? Cilantro on fruit. Listen, I love cilantro, but on fruit? Crazy. Back with the Amalgam Hunt, peppers were the key to waking the moon, just for Daybreak to have to chime on in, while also setting up the stage for the incoming betrayal. Minato is now a bad guy, using the events of the movie that I didn't watch yet as an excuse to how these kids just suck. So, they gotta get that memory wiped and replaced with the sisters. That's not all. Minato's also rocking that dread and beating L's right into Spanel and out the Kemis. Luckily, Sabimaru saves the day. This is the proper start of Part 2 with Gideon escalating his plans quickly. Also, there are still allusions to what happened in the film once again in order to warrant Minato joining with Gideon. Most of it does seem to play well into the association itself and what their plans essentially seem to have been up to this point. Though it does seem like Minato is really just playing the bit for the time being, albeit convincingly to the others, this episode does get a build B for a good foundational episode. Moving on, the Alchemist School is now the base of operation for Gideon and his people, but it does seem like Lactis is first on the list of potential converts, because she's not feeling the tone that he's taking with them. Now, with Minato out of the picture, everyone has seemingly forgotten him and all the students are just blacklisted. But that Moon Amalgam? He's still around. snatching up all of Hotaro's friends, leaving him to double face off against the double Gotchards, though it proves ineffective. Daybreak's got a solution though. A brand new toy! Well, Hotaro can just make his own damn toy. And how will he do that? Time travel! That's right, they're using Daybreak's Time Lord card. So, Hotaro is flung to the distant past of 10 years ago, where, in the Ouroboros world of the first episode, he finds himself. Well, young him. Just freely playing with chemis. Not just freely playing with chemis, but making objects with alchemy. But one bad trip, and he's already ruined this world's one time travel law. Don't touch yourself. But now we get to the real meat and potatoes, with Gideon stumbling into Fuga's lab and finding the blueprints for the Gacha driver. That whole traitor plot point, Gideon's doing. Adjusting the memories of everyone at the top of the association. But Fuga is one tough guy, freely using level 10 chemis and restoring the others to their card forms. But Lil Hotaro gets in the way, and Big Hotaro joins on in, just to protect all those chemis, which lands him those brand new goggles. But all the self-congratulatory hand-touching does mess things up, sending him back to the future. Just in time for Fuga to memory wipe Little Hotaro there. And now we're back to modern day, and those goggles had a short time to be a treasure, going from sand to goggles to Gotchard Igniter in mere hours. So now it's time for a brand new power-up, and it looks completely different from Daybreak, using that newfound speed to beat the moon with the red-hot intensity of 1,000 suns, and finish things off with a rider kick so fast that the amalgam disintegrates due to the friction burn. It's here that we find out that Daybreak was Hotaro from the future the whole time, and our Hotaro's path is already different as indicated by his brand new form. But now that they've touched, actually because Hotaro touched himself, then his time is now done, and on to the next phase of the plan. It's the end of the Daybreak arc already, and it kind of just came and went in less than 3 episodes. Once again, showing this show's greatest fault in that it's consistently moving on to the next thing without letting things properly marinate. The speculation on Daybreak's identity was the matter of much talking, but I think that was partly due to the break that we had between Superhero Time over the New Year break. But having the payoff to it just be Hotaro from 5 years in the future was a decent twist. But using it as a clutch from seemingly out of nowhere just to give himself a power-up kinda seems inconsequential to the story at large. My bigger question here is, how did Daybreak's timeline go around this time without him having met his future self? At this point in time, I don't think that Hotaro, our Hotaro at least, possesses a Time Lord card. So, did he make his Igniter literally in the future after finding his dad's goggles? In which case, what made his form alter so much from our Hotaro's? See, I originally speculated that it could have been from the prolonged aspects of using the Igniter, but after re-looking at the scene in the future, he doesn't already have it. This all has the possibility of playing into the standalone Daybreak film that's already been announced. I just hope that it's not going to fully end this current Part 2 and we start off Part 3 in the same vein that we started Part 2. The only other mystery that we have in this episode is that Fuga was hiding in the Ouroboros realm while Hotaro was just chilling there. Meaning that the earlier speculation that Fuga knows Hotaro's dad is likely right on the money. I just wonder how his mom didn't know that they were both alchemists. Did she get memory wiped too? But yes, going back on the other thing, I do feel that future Gotchard Daybreak did end up getting his goggles from his dad, because looking at the wreckage, it probably was his dad's goggles that he ended up clutching onto, which would make his Igniter fundamentally different from Hotaro's. As for this episode, I initially thought that it was okay, but it does leave a lot of room to ponder, which is one of my favorite aspects in doing reviewings. So, this episode is getting the Agito A! One of Gideon's dolls wants some meat, and Gideon orders that alchemist fried chicken. But the sisters brought in some new chemis, and one just happens to be so perfect for this guy. All this while Gyoka and Spanel enjoy some noodles at an oddly familiar noodle stand. Enough about that, let's go to yet another familiar Dombros location, where Minato's after Rine's new movie premiered Rin. But Houtaro shows up to his dread. But, of course, when Ignite shows up, he don't want that smoke, and dips out. So, while Malcolm attacks, Houtaro clears the air about Rine's dad traitor situation, while presenting her with some of his creamy sweetmeats. Yeah, she's not a fan. But it's Malcolm time. Is he gonna be all about Houtaro's sweetmeat? Nah, son. Hold that L for Spanner later. Rine gets forehead poked by Atropos while Houtaro gets the chains. Luckily, new upgrades runs hot. Terribly. New upgrade runs hot. Also, this Malcolm can split. And its stray attacks manage to hit Lil Big Girl, leaving her with the Midas touch. Which leaves the Malcolm in the mood for some veal now. This has Rine's motivational power spark more memories of the film that I did not watch, rekindling her alchemy and allowing her to finally re-transform into Kamen Rider Majade. Taking on one big dog while Houtaro gets back the Ignite to showcase off yet another new form. Yay! Majade finishes things off with probably one of the most lackluster finishers ever. It's cool though, seeing all those riders in one place makes Spanner, Salt Stack, just simply expand. With Atropos feeling some kind of way, Gideon does. You know what? Nah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Key here is that we continuously get more seeds of Latias, just eventually betraying them. This episode had some fine comedic chops, some that hit very familiar tones. And if you know, you know. This did leave me laughing a good bit during my initial watch, and even the acting was amped up in this episode. Rine being so fixated on the rules here is what kept her from being limited, but this episode allowed her to make her own in order to essentially bend the rules in her favor. I also do like that there is a bit of a limiter on the Igniter due to the overheating effects, but this was indeed a very fun episode that actually hit a lot of the proper tones for me. As such, this is also getting the Agito A! After some more sus interactions between Gideon and Atropos, all to Lactus's despise, we do get our new Malcolm in the form of an angel. This triggers some memories from Gideon that's not from the movie? Have we finally moved past it all? Well, he's got unfinished business, and speaking of unfinished, Kyoka's got that unfinished gotcha driver, introducing herself to Houtaro and the gang. All this while on the subject of remembering, Spanel remembers all those L's that he's been catching until that Reiwa parental issues makes themselves known. What's the issue apparently? Well, it's here that we get the introduction to Spanel's Dark Flames, a manifestation caused by his extreme emotions during an instance 10 years ago, in which Gideon did succeed in opening that door of darkness while adding to his body count. And that body count involved Spanner's parents. Now I know what you're thinking, but his parents are right there, right? Yes and no, because they are indeed dead. And the news gets broken to Spanner just as he finally starts getting some happiness in his life. Seriously, from minute 8:52 to 10:10, you get non-stop Spanner jobbing. Glorious. Until the main characters show on up. Though, that's when Gideon makes his grand entrance, making Orphanox out of Spanner's parents and chaining him up, triggering them flames to form the Mad Wheel Malgum, leaving him to his feels, but also coming to just cast out on everything he's believed up until now. See, after his parents died, Kyoka erased his memories and raised him like her own. And now, he disrespects the fuck out of her and her chessboard. Feeling that because of what she's done, what she's taught him has made him weaker and no longer live up to his full potential. And she is the reason why he is not a Kamen Rider. Y'all, this episode hits deep. And this is probably my favorite episode of the series thus far, giving a well-deserved emotional showcase to Spanner. My only hope is, and look, I know at the time of me recording this, episode 21, it has aired, but I have not seen it at the time of this. But my biggest thing is that I just hope that this entire Dark Flames thing that got introduced this episode does not instantly get a payoff the next episode, and just goes away from there. Because, as I mentioned before, the issue that Gotchard has had up until now is the lack of letting shit just marinate, so there's an instant payoff to things just, right there. But yes, rating, this episode ends up getting the Super 1S! With these episodes of Gotchard, we got a whole lot of brand new writers. So with that, let's talk form. Gotchard Daybreak is the first out the gate, and I really do like the orange palette swap for Gotchard here. The red Gotcha driver was also a nice touch, and something that I've actually done previously with one of the opening bits with Nintendo Soji, but John Toei has a blue one though. My only thing is that I don't like the cape that he gets when he's using the Ignite form. It's a little bit too much. Fire Gotchard is up next, and this one actually grew on me. I didn't like it at first, but now I actually do like it. The whole Crossbone Gundam backpack of it all, and the whole flame aesthetics just works for it. However, the Apodeskebo Ignite form just is a no from me. Since the new Ignite portions just retain the blue color scheming of base, which breaks up the form's entire flow. Majade is probably the best design this show has brought out. I actually really love this suit, though I think it's a little overtly designed for something that's supposed to be a base form, because this gives me just the rumblings of something that should be a final form. Like if you put this next to base Gotchard in a shot, which you do see a lot in the intro, it's just a better suit. Gotchard has definitely picked up the pace and looks like has finally gotten to the point that I can resume doing weekly reviews again. It's a shame really that they had to make the winter movie such a plot relevant thing, because it fundamentally hurts the first set of episodes for those of us that just lack the capability to watch it. Daybreak is also getting his own film, so I am fearing that the same thing might happen again with that one. The Daybreak arc, looking back on things, really didn't do much besides being a backdoor pilot for his film, as the portion of Hotaru getting his upgrade could have been played out entirely different. There is no clear indication that there was something that specifically happens during these 3 episodes that directly affected his future. The order flow of him getting his Ignite powers much earlier than his timeline may have been the main thing, but we are left to speculation when it comes to that front. Majade's introduction was alright. And once again, a lot of Rine's character development happened in regards to her events in the movie. Outside of that, it's really just been a relationship that she's been forming with Athrobos, which is another thing. The Dark Sisters really are showing your typical bad guys betraying their ideals trope, with having Atropos start forming some sort of sisterly bond with Rine, and Lactus really finding flaws and issues with Gedeon. I can see the both of them just fully flipping sides, leaving Clotho to stay next to him. I really hope that this show, at least on the back end side of things, to really know what they're doing from a narrative standpoint and not be playing it by ear. Because as it stands, I think I can safely say to folks to probably just skip the beginning of this show unless they prefer a more slice of life type of thing. Because that's honestly what lost me. Though I did continue watching, and The reason why these videos took so long to produce was because I had to watch 10 episodes again. That's a lot of time to watch 10 episodes again on my schedule. Crazy. All for the sake of just refreshing my memories to what was going on here. The biggest flaw that I still have with this show is that it still feels like a corporate cash grab. We now have, well, according to the intro and everything that we know, we're going to have 3 writers using the exact same driver, except they're going to have attachments to them, which narratively does not make sense within the context of the show, because remember, the key to opening the Door of Darkness was the gacha driver in itself. But now you're telling me that there's 3 gacha drivers that you can just snatch up. Any single one of them could possibly be the key to opening that Door of Darkness. It really just fundamentally makes the gacha driver so less special from everything that we had in the beginning. Also, the Door of Darkness was in the classroom the whole time. My question is, where did it lead, and why does Gideon need to reopen it? Also, what was he doing for 10 years? No one aged. I'm currently not invested in buying any more Kemi cards and getting the gacha driver attachment. This show has lost me from a marketing perspective. But it has regained my attention span in keeping up with the show on a weekly basis. But, once again, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Leave your comments down below and I will catch you sooner rather than later once again. Until then, bye.